We've got Chris on technical, Neil on insight, and Steve in the driving seat. It's talking Formula One.
So we've seen Norris go on the books and
Good evening. Welcome to Talking Formula One. I am Steve, and this is your weekly pit stop for Formula One goodness. And as you may have seen, it was Belgium this weekend, and well, Red Bull nigh uncatchable again when it was another 1-2 finish for the team. Verstappen extending his reach and firmly planting another finger on that trophy for a third straight Constructors' Championship. As you may have seen from the videos there, my fellow contributors were actually in Belgium, enjoying it through the rain and the spray and the mud. It sounds like a fantastic weekend. I don't care about the weather. Well, no doubt they'll tell us all about it. So let's welcome in the first one. It's Chris. It's Chris, eventually. I'll keep talking.
And the man that's got a degree in F1, the wise owl, Chris Lambert.
Austria's an old school circuit. If you go off, you're off.
It's Chris, eventually. Hello, you all right?
Good afternoon, you all right?
Yeah, not bad. Yourself?
Yeah, we're all right. Slowly
Good.
get back into one piece.
Yeah, how was Belgium?
Despite all the rain, it was well worth every minute of it. Fantastic.
It looks fantastic. The weather, can't fault the weather, to be fair. I don't care if it's blazing sunshine or chucking it down with rain.
Yeah,
It's Formula One.
It's okay if you can go to it. Just be prepared to walk up a lot of hills. I mean, I don't think you quite grasp the nature of the track until you're actually there. You know that Eau Rouge is a big old hill, but actually Eau Rouge is a small hill compared to the run from Les Combes down to the bus stop.
Okay, yeah, you sort of think of Eau Rouge Rally on that sort of section, don't you, being the bit? But yeah, when they sort of have when they pan over the track in the helicopter, you then see it drop.
Yeah,
down to the bus stop, and
you can see the whole everything from Les Combes. Les Combes overlooks everything.
Amazing.
So it's really nice. So.
I was incredibly jealous. The weather obviously was not ideal, but who cares? It's Formula One. The results was predictable. Mike Baker, evening. Welcome in. Just want to say Hamilton's penalty for the incident with Perez was a joke. Yes, it was controversial, to say the least. Even Martin Brundle is questioning it, and no one was at fault there. I think it was a racing incident. Look at the conditions.
Oh, it certainly was definitely a racing incident. If you hark back to, I instantly thought about the Verstappen and Hamilton at Brazil. Little get together.
Yeah,
similar to that. I think that was given as a racing incident, wasn't it?
I think Verstappen got a penalty for it. I think.
Yeah, right, maybe not then, but
one of them did.
What did to Lewis was he slightly lost. He lost the car mid corner. And he lost traction, and he just had to do the small movement to get back into the, and that's what pushed him into Perez. But it's racing. I mean, he's in the wet at the end of the day, aren't you?
Yeah, it's going to be tricky. Well, you didn't go to Belgium all by yourself. Sadly, of course, I didn't join you. I was watching Verstappen dominate from the comfort of my own sofa. You did go, of course, with our cohort here and our our last presenter. Welcome him in. It's Neil.
Mr. Positivity, Neil Mole.
Yeah, but we're crap. We're not going to dominate any team.
Evening, Neil.
Hello there. You all right?
I'm not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good.
Good. Have you recovered from Belgium?
Yeah, I'm a bit drier than I was.
Yeah.
Not trench foot.
It's
No trench foot.
It was wet. And what's this I hear about you stacking it in Belgium, Chris?
Well, it was after the sprint race. Was it after the sprint race now? Or was it after the? Yeah, it was after the sprint race, wasn't it? We had to walk around the track.
Yeah, I believe it was the Saturday.
Yeah, we stood on the hairpin, and then as we were walking out towards the exit, I was wearing the inappropriate footwear, like I took all weekend, and I just took a misstep and ended up on my bum.
Oh dear.
That was the first one of the weekend, to be fair.
That's not too bad. If there is obviously a place to stack it, then Spa is not the worst place, I suppose, surrounded by Formula One paraphernalia. But overall, obviously the result, as we said, was predictable. But did you enjoy yourselves?
Hell yeah. It was worth queuing up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get a seat Sunday morning.
9 hours. 9 hours sitting and 20,000 steps.
Wow. But it's what an experience. What an experience.
It's the only place I've known that you get soaked through and then you're worrying about sunburn.
Yeah.
That was Saturday, wasn't it? Saturday was mad. That's weird. It's a weird thing. Like, you always hear people say, "Oh, it's the Spa, the weather changes. It's always changing anyway." And they will say, "Don't look at weather forecast. Look up." You always take that as a bit of pinch of salt, but generally it could be 5 minutes difference of being bright sunshine, being pitch black, and you're just about to run for the covers.
I suppose you can't really comprehend it watching it on TV, can you? Because it's like, okay, so it's chucking it down with rain 1 minute, and then you look on the camera footage, and then over Sector 3, where it's chucking it down with rain, you go to Sector 1, blue skies. And it's great when you see that F1 is the pinnacle of motorsport, and the pit wall are just there with their arms out. Just that's more reliable than looking at a digital screen trying to get the weather report, and it just sticks.
We had a bit of that, didn't we, Chris? The Porsches, I think it was. They just did they have one lap left, and then they decide just to pit, and they red flagged it. We couldn't understand why, but we just imagined was it round at the bus stop that it was too wet for them because they all went off.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was there. They just red flagged it. To be fair, it wasn't a bad thing because I don't think I saw one overtake in the whole race. But
it's
Monaco looked decent.
Well, I'm insanely jealous. It is on my bucket list of races to go to. Hopefully one day. Hopefully. But there we go. Glad you guys had a good time. Obviously now you're back to I'd say glorious British summertime, but yeah. It's not been fantastic, is it? But there we go. I think one thing, Belgium certainly it was a predictable result. Red Bull absolutely dominating, as we've come to expect. I think week in, week out now. We had a different car starting on pole because of a penalty for Verstappen. Was it 17 laps it took him to clean up and to take the lead?
I think that was very. They were eking out the soft tyre, weren't they? That was the only reason.
Yeah, it was another predictable result, wasn't it? But there were some good performances, I think, from other teams up and down the grid. Ferrari looked good, certainly in the hands of Leclerc. Not so much Sainz. Perez seemed to be almost back on form. Was he second on the grid because of the penalty, and then second in the race? Didn't offer much of a defence to Verstappen, did he? Though.
Was there a defence?
I think we saw him coming out.
I
think the pass was done at Radion, wasn't it, Neil? I think we sort of we were expecting it because we were up the end of the Kemmel straight into Lake Coombe, and we could see all the way down to the Kemmel. We were expecting a little bit of a fight, but it was done by halfway down the Kemmel, wasn't it? So
yeah.
As soon as that Red Bull gets DRS open, it just makes every other car look like a go-kart. It's ridiculous. The Red Bull's rapid with DRS closed, but with open, incredible.
Well, the interesting thing was they probably because they were lifting through Eau Rouge in order not to damage the floor. So who knows how far it could have won by? Yeah, no, it was another statement. Is it a statement victory now? Because they're all the same, aren't they? We know what that car can do. We know they're always historically strong at Spa, always.
Yeah.
It suits the design of their cars.
It was another strong.
McLaren, if it rained, the McLaren would have been quick.
Yeah, McLaren sort of came down to earth with a bump, really, didn't they? Saturday was good for them. You had Piastri finishing second in the sprint.
I think they took a punt on the weather, I think.
Yeah, Norris did say that they'd set up more for the dry and they expected to be quick, certainly in the middle sector, but the first and the third, they would just get swallowed up. And you saw it, didn't you? Down the Kemmel Straight, down to the bus stop. They were just getting eaten alive. He came alive a little bit when the rain came in the race, but that was what?
We stood at we were at Pouon for the sprint no, not sprinter, for the qualifying on the Friday. And what I noticed was how early Red Bull and McLaren can get on the power in Fuon and into double gauche. They were a good, 10 meters ahead of the Mercs, the Alpines, the Astons. Just how much downforce and how much speed they can carry in. There's only a small lift and go. Even in the wet, they're a lot earlier on the power. So
yeah, they had a good little setup. But yeah, like Metal J says there as well, disappointed Piastri had to retire at the start. What do you make of that, guys? Because Sainz was blaming it on Piastri and Piastri's inexperience.
Well, I
Piastri
saw
was, throwing blame the other way.
initially, I believe, and I still sort of do. Piastri, he didn't have enough alongside, but if you look, that Sainz isn't really controlled. He's locked up and he's heading towards the inside. He's not really under control. So I think there's a fair bit of weight on his shoulders. Yet again, it's not great by him. But yeah, Piastri, inexperienced, a bit eager, potentially should have just let it go and,
the old
fight another day.
Martin Brundle saying, he says you can't lose it in the first lap, but you can't win it in the first lap, but you can certainly lose it. And Piastri, if he had his time again, we just lift off and fight another day. But I think their problem was because they knew they were susceptible down the straight. Did that make him feel like he had to try and get a few places in turn one to try and have some, to make them a little bit further forward, when then inevitably, as we saw with the first stint with Norris, they just went backwards.
Yeah, it was a shame, wasn't it? Certainly after two really strong performances in Silverstone and in Hungary, people thought they might be challenging again for a podium. And like I say, it was looking all right on Saturday. Piastri had a really solid result. It's a shame that doesn't set the grid now for the main Grand Prix, because you'd have had, obviously, Verstappen at the front, and then you'd have had Piastri and then Gasly, who sort of came out of nowhere for third in the Alpine, which is, considering it's been a very turbulent week for Alpine, with Otmar Safnauer, Alan Permain given the boot, James Key as well. I think it's James Key now, the new technical director at Williams. He's jumped ship to Williams. So
yeah, Pat Fry's going to Williams as well, isn't he?
Pat Fry, sorry, not James Key. Yeah, Pat Fry.
Yeah, so same old Renault, isn't it? They've got a new boss in, so he's just gone, right, you're all not done a good enough job. See you later, we'll start again. But there's only so much you can do that.
Basket case of a team, isn't it? It's just staff coming and going, drivers coming and going. Piastri didn't want to drive for them. Alonso had enough. They've gone through various team principles.
The news is that Alpine are going to sell the team. Who was it to? I told you on Monday. Who did I say they're going to sell it to?
I can't remember now.
Yeah, but they're going to provide the engines effectively. So they're effectively going to check out, but keep the engines in F1.
The American team that's trying to get on the grid.
Oh yeah,
Andretti, okay.
Yeah, so apparently that might be in the pipework. That's why they've kicked them all out and moving to F1.
It's very much a one step forward, two step back vibe at that team at the minute. They did all right last year. They were in the fight for fourth with McLaren. I think they got fourth in the end, didn't they? From McLaren, largely because of Ricciardo's struggles. Because the Alpine itself wasn't brilliant. That would just spontaneously combust every now and then. And this year they're fighting, sort of for the bottom reaches of the points. They had a very lucky podium a decent podium from Ocon in Monaco, but yeah, they're just sort of a bit of a forgotten team, I think, in Formula One. You've got obviously your main ones, your Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, and then everyone knows about Williams, everyone knows about Haas, and then you kind of go, oh yeah, Alpine. Yeah. Alpine and Alfa Romeo, I think, tend to go quite under the radar.
Their success in the 2000 with Alonso was mainly down to the mass damper. Do you remember when they banned the mass damper halfway through the 2006 season? I don't think they won a race again.
No, they fell off.
And then since then, they've actually been more successful when they've been a engine supplier, rather than an actual factory manufacturer. So
Yeah, they had the success, obviously, didn't they, with Red Bull as their engine providers. But as soon as they took over, or they got back the Lotus team, as it was, nothing. Yeah, they moved forward and they've progressed a little bit, and then they just they seem to have hit a ceiling. And the solution apparently is to just chop and change at every slight hiccup. They're a bit like a Watford, really. So a slight hiccup, change everyone, and then we'll hope this new situation works. And then they stumble once, and then it's like, right, done, change everything again. Don't give it time. Just I don't know.
Alonso paid his 2 pennies in about Saf now, and he said that he did a terrible job at Aston Martin, and he's done a terrible job at Alpine. Maybe he should start looking at himself. Well,
to be fair, Aston are now doing all right with Mike Crack. I always have to try and put a break between Mike and Crack because otherwise I can't say that name with a straight face. And where was he before? Yeah, I was Aston Racing Point, wasn't it? Yeah. Mattia Benotto apparently is in the running to get the Alpine job, so we'll see.
But the problem is, I'm not sure if his position actually exists with these teams. They've got all these different names and hierarchies going on, and not each team rarely has the same. And what Benotto, his position, he likes to be in charge, and he won't be.
No.
So I don't believe he'll really want to go. It'll be a change of things if he does.
Yeah, it's very much a sort of, okay, you're team principal, but you're not in charge. It's going to be very much report to the CEO, which I don't think is Lauren Rossi anymore. I can't remember the guy's name now. But, unlike Christian Horner, where you're... Sorry,
Rossi went, and Prost, he was another one.
Yes.
Prost got all caught up in it. He's got interesting things to say about them as well.
He has. It must be heartbreaking for him. But you've got someone like Christian Horner, Toto Wolff, they're part owners and team principals. Certainly with Toto Wolff. You don't have that with Alpine. It's a tricky situation. Well,
it's one of the things they talk about, the fact that they're a manufacturer as well. Well, they should be a big team.
Yeah.
But they're really not. Alonso came out in an interview when he was asked about Alpine or Renault as a team and what are the similarities between Aston and them, and he basically just had to say how amateur the Renault team was when he was there. It was just pretty much how Williams used to be.
Yeah, back in the day. Yeah, you've got big manufacturers. Mercedes and Ferrari are two of the giants of Formula One. Renault or Alpine should be up there, but they're not. They're just a bit of a joke, really. It's like, it's all change at Alpine again, and it's another poor weekend. But, well, who knows how the new regime will get on. Metal Jace, you see the Mercedes are bouncing again. Hamilton said the team doesn't know why. Yeah, that was evident, wasn't it? They seem to have got to the bottom of their porpoising, and it's doing it again.
Yeah, a few teams were porpoising, apparently. I think it's the nature of the track, the undulations, I think, and the bumpy nature. I think that's why one of the reasons why Red Bull were lifting in Eau Rouge is because they didn't want to damage it going into Eau Rouge because they knew that they'll be at maximum downforce at that point. So I think Mercedes will be fine. I don't think they're bouncing as in terms of that's come back, but certainly only having one free practice, which was completely wet, it doesn't help when you've got a new upgrade on there.
Yeah. I think, to be fair, we may well see more of that after the summer break because we're going to Zandvoort next, and that's very similar in the sort of the undulating, twisting, turning. Yeah. We may well see a lot more of the porpoising that we saw in Belgium.
It wasn't as bad. The porpoising wasn't like it was, this time last year where you can violently see the heads going and you can hear the bottoming out. It wasn't. It was pretty mild. I mean, the Ferrari's been. I don't think the Ferrari even got rid of the porpoising yet.
That's just a standard thing for Ferrari setup now. If it's not porpoising, I'm worried. Yeah. Well, talking of Ferrari and Mercedes and bouncing, obviously we're at the halfway point in the season now. One team is clearly excelling far above the others. There are a couple.
Williams.
Well, yes, I would put them as having a successful season so far. There are a couple of teams who have maybe not dropped the ball as such, but they are very disappointing. And a couple of teams who are going a little bit under the radar. So if we have a quick breakdown of some of the teams so far, like a half-term school report sort of thing. If we start last, because that's always the fun one to do, because they're the bad ones. 10th in the constructors currently, AlphaTauri. Nick de Vries started the season. He's got replaced, of course, by Daniel Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda. Disappointing season for the AlphaTauri team.
I'd say, as it's turned out, there's only one positive to the AlphaTauri setup, and it's poor Tsunoda that's not even rated highly.
Yeah, they're going a little bit. He's doing a bit of a sort of a thankless task, isn't he? Really, he's having to really pull that team along. Ricciardo's probably still getting up to speed. De Vries was just terrible. So hopefully Ricciardo can do some good work over the summer break and then come back strong in Zandvoort. It was another point for Yuki Tsunoda. So they've only scored 3 this season. That leaves them rock bottom of the championship, which is a surprise. But they did struggle last year as well with these new cars.
They got Lauren McKees, I see, coming along next year.
Yeah, he's now left Ferrari, isn't he? So
not sure that's going to make any difference, to be honest. But
so, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate AlphaTauri's season so far, Chris?
3.
Neil?
Definitely no better than a 3.
I think 3 is generous.
I am inclined to agree. Tsunoda's got a few points. Could have had more, maybe.
With the backing they've got.
Yeah. You
Poor
look at
car,
the team that
poor
passed
driver
it.
selection, poor team.
Yeah. It was very, very unwise to take a punt on Nick de Vries after one good outing in a Williams on a circuit which benefits Williams. That's not enough for him to go, yep, brilliant. We're happy
It's
for
a
the full
teammate
season.
who us 3 could probably challenge.
Yeah. Hopefully with Ricciardo, they will start to pick up. Tsunoda is doing what he can, but he's still inconsistent, you know. 9th place is, again, somewhat surprising, I think. Alfa Romeo, Valtteri Bottas, Guan Yu Zhou. They have 9 points, so they're only 6 ahead of AlphaTauri. Another disappointing season so far for them. Again, very much under the radar.
Seems like they're sleepwalking to Audi, if I'm honest.
Basically.
Yeah.
I didn't imagine. I still believe that Valtteri is doing a bit of a Kimi. He's a little bit on a decline. And, well, I mean a Kimi sort of on the end of his career. But, yeah, he's on a bit of a decline. He's enjoying his time outside of the seat almost more than he is in it.
Yeah.
The car's terrible. And like you say, they're just...
Spider was there at the weekend as well, so he's getting involved a bit more now. He's getting there. But I agree with Neil. Yeah, I think Bottas won't be there very long. They might even pay him off.
He's happy growing a mustache and a mullet and swimming naked by the looks of it. So
yeah,
there you go.
It's just
each their own.
Like Chris mentioned, they're just floating along until they become Audi and have all that backing behind them.
I can't see either of those two drivers staying when it's Audi, though. I mean, Bottas is towards the end of his career now anyway. He's obviously not a young guy anymore, and he's not doing enough to warrant staying. I would feel that Audi would maybe want a German in that seat. There's obviously a lot of talk about maybe Mick Schumacher. People have been wishfully thinking Vettel. I believe that when I see it.
They always talk Mick Schumacher, and they like to keep mentioning Norris moving over with Seidel.
Yeah. I think it's
following his path.
But, well, we shall see. But like you say, yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. Very much sleepwalking until they become Audi. It's just treading water at the minute. They're going to be Sauber next year, aren't they? Because it's for the next 2 years, because Alfa Romeo's partnership is ending at the end of this year. And then we'll see the Sauber name back on the grid.
Considering I never really expected much from them this season, I wouldn't quite put them as low as a 3 like we did AlphaTauri, that we expected more from. So, I'd be more along a 4 or a 5 for them. It's middle of the road. It's what we expect, to be honest. Maybe one position higher, but
4.
Yeah, 4, 5. Yeah, pretty average. Metal Jace, I'd love to know how they enforce the down tools during the summer break. No way to stop every employee. Very true. You can imagine that little Williams guy sneaking into the factory.
They'll take 2 weeks off.
There you go. 2 weeks holiday, not bad. You're not even allowed to think about Formula One.
Mandatory.
That's not too bad. we'll do a few more because we've got until just before 8 o'clock really. So we've got time for a couple more teams. And then we can always pick it up next week and do some more, the other half of the grid or whatever next week. 8th place currently. Again, a bit surprising. Actually, I don't know if it's surprising anymore. It's probably expected now. Haas, another nearly team. Nico Hulkenberg, Kevin Magnussen. Hulkenberg largely outshining Kevin Magnussen.
K-Mag's been disappointing.
Considering Magnussen was doing all right last year, probably one of the...
I never imagined how much Hulkenberg would show him up, to be honest.
Yeah, back in the car after being out for 2 years-ish, apart from a few sort of stand-in drives here and there. Qualifying, he's totally eclipsing him. The race is a more even split, I think. I mean, Hulkenberg has scored more than K-Mag, but the Haas just cooks its tyres. It's quick on a one lap, but then it just ruins its tyres so early on, and then they just drop down the order. It's another disappointing season for Haas, I feel.
Yeah, I agree.
They've got this extra money coming in from MoneyGram now, big sponsor that hasn't gone tits up like the Rich Energy, escapade. It's going to take time to come through, but still.
They've got ambition, but I know I never really believe. They had a lucky start, was it a couple of seasons ago, where Magnussen completely blew Schumacher out of the water, early part of the season.
Yeah.
And then when the car tailed off, they sort of evened out. But since then, that was their little blip. They've sort of gone back to being a bit of a bang average team.
It seems that they start strong, when all the teams are more on an even keel, and then as other teams bring in upgrades, they just drop. I mean, in 2021 they didn't upgrade at all. That was awful. And in 22 they started off strong. Yeah, Magnussen got a 5th place finish in the first race, and then they just dropped off. Schumacher never really got going. But this season they've not even started. They didn't start strongly. They've just always been qualifying well, certainly in Hulkenberg's case, and then just dropping off in the race.
Yeah, they're the ones. They're Alfa Romeo again there, I think. That's what's the rumour. And they'll put Teo Pourchaire in probably K-Mag's seat.
Yeah, Hulkenberg and Pourchaire, not a bad little shout, to be fair. I'll keep Hulkenberg around for a couple more years. Out of 10, guys, what do you reckon?
5. From where they were last year, which, last 2 years, which was where AlphaTauri are, I'll give them 5.
Yeah, not to be absolute bottom runners, I think is an improvement for them. Not where they want to be. Obviously, no team wants to sort of be nearer the bottom.
Qualifying form into the race.
Yeah,
it'd be a decent outfit.
Well, we'll do one more team because I want to, and then we will do the rest next week. But the last team we're going to do tonight is currently sitting in 7th place in the championship. My boys, Williams F1, Alex Albon and Logan Sargent. I feel it's been a successful season. I feel content as a Williams fan. I like the progress. There are green shoots. They've got a good structure in place. They've now got a technical director who is very, very experienced and very highly rated in Pat Fry. James Vowles, exciting team principal. The car has potential.
It's all in the right area, all the right direction. The only thing I'd say about Williams, which I would want more from Sargent.
I will 100%.
He hasn't had that race yet where he's snuck in the top 10 or he's snuck in Q3. He's just been okay, which is you kind of need a bit more.
He's sort of
I think it's more next season. I imagine he'll get away with being where Williams are. They're doing okay, and slightly more than okay. Albon's doing a good job as well. He'll get away with just being a little bit, get through this season, and then he'll almost. I feel he'll get a little bit of the Schumacher chop and block next season, where people start expecting things from him, and if he starts being a bit of a Latifi, then it won't look too good for him. But we'll see. Williams are one of the nicer teams on the grid.
Yeah, just quickly then. So, what would you go out of 10? I'll go 7, to be honest.
8.
Yeah, it's definitely from bottom runners to I'd say a good 7 or 8.
Last in so many of the past few seasons to sitting currently in 7th, not safe by any means, but there we go. Right, that will do us for this week. So there's obviously no race because we're in the summer break. Don't know what I'm going to do. Football starts soon, so that'll do nicely. So we will go. Don't you dare rate Williams a 1. No, Chase, thank you. It's more like it.
Seven.
So we will join us next week, 7:15 again, back to the normal time. We'll go over the rest of the teams. So, my phone's ringing. So, thank you very much for joining us. I've been Steve, has been Chris, he has been Neil. We shall see you next week. Have a great week, and we'll see you then.